Hey everyone! Today I just want to talk a little bit about the things that I did before I quit my day job or before I went freelance full-time. For those of you who know me, you know that I recently left my day job. I left my 9-to-5 and now I am pursuing full-time self-employment. And I am so happy about it. I have always wanted to work for myself full-time and I've finally done it and it's going really well. So I know there are a lot of other people who are in the same situation. You may not hate your day job. I didn't hate my day job. I actually didn't mind my day job. I worked with some really awesome people at a really cool place doing things that I got to use my skills and my passions in. So it definitely wasn't one of those situations where I just absolutely hated my day job. But if you hate your day job, or maybe you're just like me and you've always wanted to work for yourself, then listen up. I'm just going to share a few things with you that I did before I decided to quit my day job. Okay, so let's say you're in this situation and you're thinking about going freelance full-time or starting your own business. I asked myself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And everybody's answer is going to be different for this. And the reason why I asked myself this was really, when you have all this fear, is it justified? Is there actually something to be afraid of? So for me, in my situation, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have children. I don't have debt. So for me, the worst that could happen, really, when I really asked myself this, is if I quit my job and I gave self-employment a shot, the worst thing that could happen for me is that I would have to get another job. So I literally wouldn't be any worse off than I was. So that makes taking a risk a little bit easier. So it's really important to ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Obviously, if you do have a mortgage or you do have kids or you do have other commitments, then there's a bit more, risk involved. But you just want to make sure that you ask yourself this, because if you happen to be in a situation like myself, you may not realize what a blessing it really is to not have all these other things that you have to worry about or that you're responsible for if things don't go according to plan. So I also asked myself what I was willing to give up. And this is really important because self-employment, as you know, is completely unpredictable. Unless you're very lucky and you land a whole bunch of retainer clients right out of the gate, you're not gonna have income that is the same month to month, and you don't know what's gonna happen. One month could be a feast and the next could be a famine. So I asked myself, what am I really willing to give up to make this happen for myself? So for me, I asked myself, am I willing to stop eating out, save money on food? I asked myself if I was willing to get rid of my cable. For me, those two things were a clear yes, definitely. I've always wanted to work for myself. And I also asked myself if I was willing to move cities. And this one was pretty important because I live in Vancouver, Canada, and it is so expensive. It's ridiculous. And I knew that if my income were drastically reduced, there's a chance that I would have to move. If you can't afford to pay your rent, then you can't stay where you are. You have to figure out a different situation. Sure, I could get a roommate, etc., but I'm 27, I've done the roommate thing more than a few times, and it just doesn't go well for me. I'm just somebody who really needs to have some quiet space and predictability in my living situation. So I wasn't willing to get a roommate. So in order to make that happen, I had to ask myself if I was willing to move. And for me, the answer was yes. I was ready and willing to leave the city that I've been in for 8 years in order to make this happen. So if you want it bad enough, you will make the changes in your life so that you can have that lifestyle. And by that lifestyle, I mean the lifestyle of working for yourself. I was totally willing to move to a cheaper place. The next thing I did is I took a hard look at my finances, and the main thing that I asked myself was, if things go awry, do I have enough savings to live in my current situation, in my current setup for the next 3 months? And the reason why I said 3 months is that if you have to make a change in your living situation because of finances, it's very rare that you're going to be able to do it like that. So if you have a mortgage, obviously you have to sell your house. If you're renting, there might be a lease that you have to wait out, or there might be a lease that you have to break, so you have to help somebody find a new tenant for your place. There's also other things. I don't have a car, and the main reason for that is to save money. But if you did have a car, you know, it takes time to sell your car and get that money. So you need to make sure that whatever your current expenses are, that you plan it out to have enough saved up, unless you're willing and able to just ditch everything in your current situation. You know, maybe you are on a month-to-month lease. Maybe you can just run somewhere else where there's cheaper rent. That's totally fine. But if that's not your situation, just make sure you take it into consideration. So when I asked myself if I had 3 months worth of savings to live in my current situation, my answer was yes. And so this made me feel a lot more comfortable in taking a risk. One of the biggest things that I did, and this actually started a while ago, is that before I quit my day job, I built my personal brand on social media. And for me, what that looks like is I've built a bit of a following on Instagram, and that works really well for me because I'm a marketer and I'm a designer, photographer, blah, 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 blah. Basically, whatever there is that involves marketing and creative, that's what I do. So for me, Instagram was a really great place to show what I'm capable of. I can show my photography, I can show my copywriting skills, I can show my curation skills. There's so much that you can show. And so for me, Instagram has been a huge way to get opportunities. Most of my clients are actually inbound through Instagram, which is still like blowing my mind completely. But it's been great. So if you are somebody who is thinking eventually you want to go freelance or you want to work for yourself, I would highly recommend building a personal brand on social media. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Instagram. So let's say that you're a writer. A great way would be to dive into Twitter if you're a writer. Let's say that maybe you're an SEO specialist. Then maybe you should build up your personal brand on LinkedIn. Maybe you're an interior designer, so in that case, Pinterest or Instagram could be really great for you, or maybe you're even a makeup artist and you want to get into YouTube. I really think that there's a huge benefit to getting involved in social media, and you're probably really busy if you're working a day job and also thinking about doing something on the side, or maybe you already have a side hustle. So I would really just try to focus on 1 or 2 main platforms. For me, I really just focus on Instagram, and that's pretty much it for me. And yeah, it's been pretty good, so. And if you are building your personal brand on social media, I would recommend to start to try to set it up a little bit before you quit your day job. And what I mean by, obviously you want to have these accounts going and building, but the way that you set these accounts up, you can tailor people's perception of you. So for example, when I was at my day job, I had my workplace and my position in my bio for a very long time. When I knew I was getting closer to going freelance or, pursuing self-employment full-time, I switched my bio. So I took out my job from my bio and my position there, and instead I branded myself and I said brand and marketing strategist, photographer, blah, blah, blah. So I started to talk about my skills in there, and it gives the impression that you're open for inquiries, and this worked really well for me. Another thing I did was I joined Facebook support communities. So what I mean by this is there's a whole bunch of Facebook groups, and you may know this, you may not know this, and there are so many that are just tailored for people who are either, entrepreneurs or freelancers, or they want to be freelancing, and they're so amazing. Like within those groups you get so much support, and you see so many other people who are already doing this. So for me anyway, when I saw all the different people who are already doing this, it made it feel more attainable for me. Especially when I would see people and I'd think and I'd go, wow, like they're doing it and they're really successful, and I feel like my skills are, at the same level, if not even beyond. I have a bit of a network already. And so that really gave me the confidence to just take the plunge, If other people are doing it, so can I. And I'm doing it. So it's working out really well. And the last thing I did, and this is like literally the last thing I did before I wrote up my letter, I was on Facebook, and when you go down that rabbit hole of watching random Facebook videos, and this one video came up, and it's, I think, an Oprah video, but it's got Will Smith in it. And he's telling this story about skydiving, and I'll post the link either in the description or below for this video, so you can check it out for yourself. And he talks about how everything you want is on the other side of fear. And all of the fear up until the moment that you take the leap, it serves no purpose. Because after you take the leap, you realize how wonderful it really is. And you don't understand why you were fearful to begin with. And this is so true even just, I mean, he's talking about skydiving, but for me taking this leap into self-employment, it couldn't be more true. I look back and I look back at the panic attacks I was having before I quit, and I wonder why, you know? It just doesn't make any sense. Knowing the reality that I'm in now and how well I'm doing compared to the fear that I had, it just doesn't really add up. So just know that the fear that you have, it doesn't serve much of a purpose, really. I mean, unless you have a ton to lose. Like, let's say that you are in debt and you have a mortgage and you have kids and all of this. Well, you know, obviously you have a bit more to consider. But if you're in a situation like myself, what are you afraid of? Again, the worst that would happen for me is that I would have to get another job. So really, there was nothing to be afraid of. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I'll try to answer them. And if any of you are also freelance or self-employed or have your own business and you left your day job or your 9-to-5, what are some of the things that you did before you quit? I want to hear them. Thanks for watching.